people who never met Miss Scott or the Scott family are posting things with sort of inflammatory remarks and my picture and all this other kind of stuff for clicks and likes and shares, and they are monetizing on this tragedy. You understand? That's how the internet works. That's how Instagram and TikTok and Facebook works.
And then I do know recently there was an order that was entered August 1st, 2025 for a disciplinary action towards him. I don't exactly know what it was for, but I know there's another one too.
Out of control, really, because of some really shoddy kindergarten-style detective work that happened in Texas. She was, quite frankly, victimized by the level of the lack of police work that was done in Texas.
So any payment arrangements, any sort of thing you're supposed to pay them, they're supposed to put that in an agreement. He never did that. And because of that, he also didn't get to file, I guess, his documents in a timely manner. So because of that, Mr. Clark lost the case, and Mr. Clark had to owe $50,000. Shaka Johnson, when I talk about people on social media using cases for clickbait, but he did the same exact thing, but did it on a higher level. I want to give a big shout out to everybody who has been commenting on my videos, everybody who's been sharing my videos, everybody who's took TikTok clips of my videos. I love it. Please, you're helping it grow. The more I grow, the more things I can do. Fugitive TV, what's up? What's going on, y'all? I'm your host, Ray Marcel. As you know, we've been deep diving into the Kada Scott case. If you guys don't know, check out my prior video where I break down the whole timeline, and I also give my theory of probably what's going on. So quick recap, make it real quick. If you've been following along, Kada Scott is a young woman that went disappeared from her job, vanished. Then later on, Keon King turned himself in while she was still missing, and then some anonymous tipsters start calling and telling the police where you can actually find her remains at. They found her remains. Then they charged Keon with unaliving her now. And not only that, they also released a court affidavit. In my previous video, I broke down the whole affidavit. I tell you all the names that's involved and everything else. Well, some people are in an uproar right now because there's this lawyer by the name of Shaka Johnson who is defending Keon King. Now, I'm not from Philly, but people were saying that this is some top-notch attorney out there and he shouldn't be, defending Keon. There's actually a petition going on right now for people to sign up for this petition for him not to defend Keon.
I have the utmost respect for Judge Velaki. I think today, though, the Commonwealth's case was extremely thin. And while they're entitled to inferences, even at this stage, I understand we're doing a preliminary hearing. However, I think they still fell woefully short of their burden.
Well, here's the thing. One thing I'm going to say is he is a private attorney, right? Even though we don't like what Keon is accused of doing, Keon still has this right, to have representation. And if he's got the money, which it looks like he does, to pay for a top-notch lawyer, then hey, let him pay for this top-notch lawyer.
Shaka Johnson joins us now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What was the key to the whole case?
I think the key in terms of a conviction for voluntary manslaughter is that it had that one additional piece, which is provocation, right? For a conviction for voluntary manslaughter, they have to prove that there was sufficient provocation which led to the unjustified.
Now, just because he's paying for this lawyer, that does not mean that this lawyer is going to get him off. Because I looked at some of his cases, and he hasn't got a lot of people. Doesn't mean that. Some people might be a good thing, because the record ain't looking too good, Shaka. Now, I don't know his complete record, but I looked at some of the high-profile cases that I'm going to show you.
Talking about why you decided to come in and have this conversation here, because there's been some backlash, quite frankly, about you making the decision, particularly as a black man, yes, to represent Keon King in this very high-profile case. There are people who are hurt. Mm-hmm. People clearly are many horrified at what has been alleged. That would be the proper term.
Yes.
of what has been alleged by your client. And your office and you as an individual have received some backlash on that. Let's start first with the why. Why are you here?
Frankie, quite frankly, I'm somewhat confused as to what I'm going to call, there's a little bit of fake outrage and hypocrisy that seems to be taking place. When people say a black man representing Keon King in this particular circumstance, in this city, any attorney who's representing defendants is, by statistical probability, more likely to be representing a black person who's accused of doing a crime to a black person, whether it be male or female, okay? So this is something that happens every day.
And people were getting convicted. Now, he recently did an interview online. It was a 20-minute interview, right? And the interview, the lady was asking him, a lady by the name of Frankie, she was asking him, you know, the public is in an outroar of him taking this case. One thing he said that stuck to me was, he said, well, God spoke to him. Before he takes a case, he has God.
When you made this decision, you made this decision based on what? And that's what I want my audience, that's what you wanted, when we wanted to address.
Yes. I said this to you before, I'll say it again. I listen for God's voice when I am taking a case. There's an assignment. I've been given a certain set of skills. And if I'm going to use them for a person, I want to make sure I'm using them to the benefit and much to the delight of my creator. That's what I want to do. Okay. I feel like I've heard his voice and I'm good with taking this particular case.
I'm not really a religious person. I'm not going to teach religion on here. And I'm not going to preach it to you guys. You guys can follow what you want. But I don't know if God's telling him in his ear, you need to defend Keon. That part I'm not sure of. But hey, to each his own, right? Now, he also took a shot at social media, us YouTubers, and anybody else out there. He said that we really don't care about this case, or any cases pretty much, and that we use this for clickbait, to get more clicks and to get monetization.
Our case seemed to be the line for some people. And where you draw your line, I don't draw mine. The social media and the internet doesn't run me, right? I don't operate on that frequency. And so when you have people who say, well, why would you take that case? You're a black man.
Yeah.
I think it's spoken with a little bit of ignorance, because I am every attorney, but me, talking about me for this moment.
Most of the concern that you've gotten about taking this case, has it primarily been from the African-American community?
100%. At least that I
And why do you think so?
I think it's because their version of justice on social media, let me say it differently. I think they're being gaslit to some extent. I think there's some.
And what do you mean by gaslighting?
There's some gaslighting going on. Let me give you an example. People who never met Miss Scott or the Scott family are posting things with sort of inflammatory remarks and my picture and all this other kind of stuff for clicks and likes and shares, and they are monetizing on this tragedy. You understand? That's how the internet works. That's how Instagram and TikTok and Facebook works. That's how it works. People set up an account, they monetize their account. Everyone can do it. A kid can do it. Everyone does it. And then based on the number of clicks and likes and shares and reposts and retweets you get money deposited into your account. They don't really care about this beautiful young lady, right? And that's why I called it initially like a fake outrage.
For those of us who have channels that got monetized, when you start a YouTube channel, no matter what it is, true crime, vlogging, whatever you want to do, most of the time your goal is to get monetized, right? When you start a YouTube channel. Hey, if it's not your goal, you just do this, you know, for hobby and you just do it. But most of the time your goal is to get monetized on this. Because for a lot of us, this is something, a platform that we get to do that maybe we didn't get a chance to do, right? So, for example, I'm doing true crime and I'm bringing you true cases that are happening right now at this moment. And the reason why I'm doing true crime is because if you don't know my story, the reason why this is Fugitive TV, I was actually a fugitive on the run, and I was on the run for 15 years, pretty much from 2005 to like 2019. Or I'm sorry, 2004, 2019, something like that. I don't even remember when I left. But ended up turning myself in, got probation, that's all done, all kind of stuff. But I served time. But what I'm saying is, I'm using my experience to start this channel to maybe help other people or inspire other people that they can do better in life, and maybe help a case why I'm doing it. If I make 1 million videos, but I can help one case, I completed my goal. And then monetization is just the icing on the cake with this channel, because that means that's something I can do full time. Now, you have people who are newscasters that work at CNN, ABC, and all these other places, right? This is what they do full time. They report, they're a journalist. They're doing this and getting paid. They're getting a salary. They're getting a check. Now, does that mean they don't care about the cases as well? Right? Now, I'm not saying all journalists care. I'm not saying that. But does that mean they don't care? And the funny thing is, you were doing the exact same thing, but you were doing it on a higher level. Why, when I put Shaka Johnson into the YouTube algorithm, it's nothing but you on Fox.
So I want to bring in attorney Shaka Johnson joining us now. I mean, this is a horrible story that sounds like it could have been prevented.
It could have been, I suppose, but I mean, domestic violence scenarios, Alex, are always the most tedious kind. They're volatile, they're unpredictable. As I understand the story, these two started off, at least the evening, at dinner, and that, you know, erupted into this.
Well, he also had called her 93 times and texted her like hundreds of times.
Sure.
So she kind of capitulated. Said, all right,
Yeah,
I
he wasn't
understand.
answering at first.
Let's go meet a Cheesecake Factory.
Talking case after case.
You can spin out of control like this.
Well, I can tell you, Mike, first of all, good morning to you both.
Yeah.
It spun out of control really because of some really shoddy kindergarten-style detective work that happened in Texas. She was, quite frankly, victimized by the level of the lack of police work that was done in Texas.
After case.
Attorney and a former police officer himself, Shaka Johnson, joins us now.
Good morning. Good morning.
What was the key to the whole case?
I think the key in terms of a conviction for voluntary manslaughter is that it had that one additional piece, which is provocation.
After case, with cases you're not even a part of.
Attorney and former police officer, Shaka Johnson joins us now. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Why don't we just put up the charges on the screen right away? Because there's so many.
But they will call you in to get your point of view because you're a defense attorney. Were you doing that for free? Or were you getting a little coin? Now, even if you were doing that for free, you were getting coin because you're putting your name out there in the spotlight. People are watching the news and they see, oh, Shaka Johnson, he sounds intelligent, he's speaking. I want to hire him to defend me. So you're marketing for yourself. So does that mean you didn't care about the cases either just because you were on a little YouTube channel, but you were on Fox doing it? So does that mean you didn't care? So don't come at people like that or me. I'm a little smarter than that. But I'm not saying this guy's a bad attorney because I don't know him, right? I just know when he said that, I was like, hold on a minute. Look at what you've been doing. And then some of the cases he'll talk about on a news channel and then leave and then go defend that person. Hey, maybe because that person saw him and now they want to pay for him. But that's the right we have in American, right? Now, like I said, I don't know too much of him, but I did look at some of the cases he represented. He represented a guy from the Proud Boys. If you know about the Proud Boys, they were pretty much a organization, gang, whatever you want to call them, a hate group. And he represented one of the guys that was in the Philadelphia chapter organization for storming the Capitol Hill during those riots. He got found guilty. He's out now because Trump pardoned him, but he got found guilty. He also represented the guy, Maurice Hill, who was accused of shooting the 6 police officers in Philadelphia a few years back, and it was a big standoff. He was defending him as well. That guy got found guilty. He ended up getting 120 to like 200 years, something extreme like that.
Hill found guilty of 3 counts of attempted a police officer and multiple counts of aggravated assault of a police officer from dating back to 2019. And Jeff, you spent the day in court. What can you tell us?
He's also got Larry, I think it's Kastner, whatever that DA's name is in Philly, in his back pocket. There's an interview with him talking about how when Maurice was in a standoff with the police, he called Maurice and had Larry and him on three-way.
Sounded like he was, listen, there were a multitude of people coming at him at once. A hostage negotiator, Commissioner Ross, the district attorney himself, Mr. Krasner, and myself. We had at one point, we had a four-way conversation. Everybody has a different agenda in that stew of people.
Talking with the DA. And the reason why is Shaka was a cop at first. He was on the SWAT team first, okay? So he was a cop. Then from there, he ended up being a detective. I believe it was in the narcotics. And then from there, became an attorney. Now, there is a lot of defense attorneys who used to work in the system and used to be sometimes district attorney assistants, district attorney themselves, some of them even judges. And a lot of the times the reason why they switch from there and go to defensive attorney is because of, I'm not going to say all of them, but money. When you're working for the city or the state, you're only making so much, but you're working 70 hours per week. Work is nonstop, but they're only paying you so much. You don't get paid a lot. It's like a public defender, right? How many of y'all had a public defender? A lot of times public defenders get a bad rep is because they have so many cases that are stacked up on their desk daily, so many cases. So they're just trying to get through the cases quickly because they have a deadline to meet, court dates to meet, and they're getting paid a low amount of money. So they got to do the best they can. I'm not saying this goes for all public defenders because some of them could be trash, but some of them are good. But they have a lot, on their plate. So what these people do is they leave, stop working for the city, become a defense attorney because now they could charge whatever they want. They could charge anywhere from $1,000 an hour to $10,000 an hour, $100 an hour. They can do whatever they want depending on that case. Now they have more freedom to charge what they want, make as much as they want, and not only that, they can pick and choose the cases they want to defend. It's not like now they get a file thrown on the desk like, hey, you have to defend this case, or hey, you have to trial this case as in a district attorney, or hey, you have to judge this case as in a judge. So that's why a lot of them become, criminal defense attorneys. And then you have the select few who do it because that is what is in their heart. They're passionate. They want to defend people. They want to defend people who they think are innocent. I know criminal defense attorneys who would turn some people down, and you know why? Because he told me he has to believe in his heart that you're innocent, or he will not be able to defend you to his fullest extent. If he has any doubt that you did what they're accusing you of, he will not be able to defend you. So in that case, he picks and chooses which one he does. And I'm not saying all attorneys does that, but that is the one I know. And that's probably, if I was attorney, I would probably do the same thing. Just be like, if I had a product, any brand came up to me and said, hey, you want to do this product on your YouTube channel, and I think the product is garbage, it's going to be hard for me to sell you this product. I got to make sure this product is good and test it out myself before I try and sell it to you guys. So it's the same concept. Right here in front of your eyes, you have before the disciplinary board of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. All right. So when a lawyer gets in trouble, he has to answer to the board. The board is pretty much like their boss. And this is the board of Pennsylvania. And as you see, Office of Disciplinary Counsel versus Shaka M.Z. Johnson. And then it says, and now this 7th day of September 2016, in according with Rule 208A5, the determination by a review panel of the disciplinary board of the above captioned matter is accepted and is ordered that Shaka Johnson of the Philadelphia be subject to a public reprimand by disciplinary board of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania as provided. Now, You go down, right? They got the signatures. This is where it's pretty much going to tell you everything he did. Not just one person, but a bunch of people. Now, some of this stuff is little, some of the stuff is like, whatever. But I mean, still. So, for example, it says right here that he represented Emmanuel Cassis in a criminal matter. Your client appeared before the Honorable Chris Wogan, during which time Judge Wogan accepted your client's negotiated guilty plea sentence. All right. Judge Wogan agreed to defer that date. Mr. Cassis was to begin his sentence and ordered Mr. Cassis to appear on June 20th, 2011. On June 20th, 2011, you appeared before Judge Wogan, but Mr. Cassis failed to surrender. So the judge commenced a violation of probation hearing, found Cassis in violation of probation, and resentenced him. And then he goes on to say thereafter that Shaka spoke to Mr. Cass's mother, wrote a letter to Mr. Cassis about the resentencing, and wrote to the judge about efforts to locate Mr. Cassis. Now, on June 27th, 2011, a letter to Judge Wogan, you took no further action in your client's matter. You did not investigate whether your client was in the state, county custody prior to apprehension by the sheriff or bench warrant. Filing notice of appeal to preserve your client's appeal rights. Communicate with your client after he was comprehended to a visa. So basically, he's saying he got the client to plead guilty. The client was supposed to come back to, sentencing, and he never came back. But on Shaka's end, he never tried to even communicate and find this guy to bring him back. Now, I mean, is that a bad thing? Whatever. It's to each his own on that part, right? And then I do know recently there was an order that was entered August 1st, 2025 for disciplinary action towards him. I don't exactly know what it was for, but I know there's another one. Now here are some of the cases that he did defend. We all know Keon King. He also defended Maurice Hill. Maurice Hill was the guy who shot, I think it was the 6 different police officers in Philly and then had a standoff with them. Shaka Johnson actually represented him, and Shaka Johnson is one of the ones that helped get him out of the house during the standoff. He called the district attorney, what's his name, Larry Cransler, whatever his name is, the person you guys don't like. He called him on the phone because they're buddies and was able to get this guy out. He also represented the former Philadelphia chapter Proud Boys leader. If you don't know about Proud Boys is a organized hate group. Now this guy, Zachary, was he stormed the Capitol during the Capitol riots. We all know about that. And he got found guilty. He got found guilty to 15 years, but President Trump did pardon him. Now, Maurice Hill got found guilty too, and he got 120 to 240 years. So he has represented some big names, and some of those names he's lost. Now, Shaka Johnson, like I said, I'm not saying he's a bad attorney. I don't know. We're all going to see. But everybody's waiting, just like we're all waiting to see who's going to get arrested next. Some people are going to get arrested. Now, the one thing I can tell you guys is this. I don't believe this is a federal charge yet. Correct me if I'm wrong on Keon. But I wouldn't be shocked if it went federal. You know why? FBI was already involved helping look for Kada, right? They helped. Even though they didn't find her, but they helped. Now, we all know from the affidavit, there's more people involved. Keon was spotted on camera with 2 other people, or at least one other, dragging which looked like a body to the back of that school, right? And then 1 third person drove off in Keon's car. So we know there's 3 people. And then you have Gabby, who's making these, or she was making these TikToks. She's quiet now. She ain't said nothing because I think people caught her. She knows she was lying. So you have Gabby making these TikToks, who also has a background record that's similar to Keon's with another person named D, which is at around the same time Keon went to jail. So some people are wondering if Gabby's case with her record is connected with Keon's and his record back in April. Some people are wondering that. I don't know. I'm wondering that too. And then you have, on the other side, in an affidavit, you have two people that were brought up, Madeline and Lopez, who were at the house that was raided where Keon was going back and forth from. Then you have the tipster who's been tipping them off, the police, and getting it right 100% of the time, everything. So now we're wondering if the tipster was there, if they're one of the three people, right? Now, I wouldn't be shocked if the FBI already has an informant. That informant could be the tipster. I wouldn't be shocked if somebody was turned and been a confidential informant, and what they're trying to do now is build up a case. See, police do quick things. They see you, if you're on the block and you're serving that green, whatever, police will see you one time and might take you to jail, right? FBI is different. FBI will see you one time like, let's hold back and see how many times he does this a day. Oh, we did it 10 times a day. Let's hold back and see how many times he does it in a week. Let's hold back and see how many times he does it in a month. Let's see how many times he does it in a year. And then by the time the FBI comes to get you, they got a year's worth of evidence on you, and it's hard for you to beat. And that's why the FBI's rate of conviction is so high, because they got so much evidence on you. So if the FBI does get involved, I wouldn't be shocked if there was an inside informant and they're building a case. They're listening to all Keon's phone calls. They're going through all his stuff. They're listening to Madeline's phone calls, listening to Lopez's phone calls. They're watching Gabby right now. They're watching her co-defendant, D. They're watching that person. Maybe even watching Kada's boyfriend, who she went to Top Golf with. Watching him because he even has a record. I'm not saying he's part of it, but everybody is a suspect. No, I don't care what the media tells you, okay? Some people will be like, oh, this person got cleared. Trust me, when it comes to the police and it comes to the M charge, everybody is a suspect. They'll have suspect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes down the line on the chart, on their board, in the meeting room. Okay? They might have a leader and it goes down a tree. And what they have to do is try and find how to eliminate each person. Everybody's a suspect until that case is closed and they get the truth. Right now, the case is not closed and they ain't got the truth. So anybody can get arrested right now. But I wouldn't be shocked, like I said, if they're building this case and when they're ready, the FBI comes, oh, they arrested this person now and they arrested this person. Now, next thing you know, they're all hit with a RICO. Because that's what it sounds like to me. If they're all in conspiracy to do something, it could be a RICO. If they hit Diddy with a RICO, they can easily hit Keon, all the rest of them with a RICO. Think about that. Not that hard. If you have any comments, if you had Shaka as your attorney, let me know. How did he do for you? Maybe he did good. I'm not sure. If you know anything, my contact is going to be in the bio below or description. This is Ray Marcel with Fugitive TV. I'll talk to you next time. Oh, yeah. My book is almost done. Hopefully it's done by the end of this year. It's about how I spent all that time on the run that I told you guys about, what I did while I was on the run and thereafter, okay? So hopefully this book can inspire somebody. It's called Rare Redemption. Now, Fugitive TV, please like, subscribe. Fugitive TV, we're out.